But I'm running for Councilor-At-Large here in Weymouth, and just looking to do a lot of things, keep things going in a lot of directions that it's going, and change some other things that aren't going on. There's been the registrar mess that happened was one issue that I think that the council really kind of screwed up on. And I think that if you were to talk to some of those councilors now, they would say the same thing, that they screwed it up. They could have done a lot better job of that. I think that the direction for Weymouth right now in terms of development, if you take a look at what's been happening over the past several years here, with the playgrounds, the parks, the school, the library, there's been an awful lot of things that have been going on that are very positive here. And I tell people this anecdote that was from an assistant of mine, whose kids were in high school at the time, and I'm trying a soccer team. She was down in Lovell Field over at English School. Travel soccer. She's standing next to a guy from Dover. He's there like this saying, "Why don't we have fields like this?" That's Dover. Okay? One of the wealthiest towns in the Commonwealth. And they don't have fields like this. Stone Hill College uses Living Field as their home field. Okay? These are not only are these raising Weymouth in the eyes of other communities, home buyers, okay? Businesses who are looking and taking a second look at Weymouth. We're no longer that poorer cousin that was always there on the South Shore. But it's also, as we're renting these fields out, we're getting income coming from them. The library being built, all this without tax increases. We got a tax right now. Our property tax is fiscal 2023. We are in 2024. It hasn't been set yet. We're at $10.45 a thousand. That's pretty reasonable given the rest of the South Shore. Okay? People complain about the idea that we've got a problem getting business in, and people have said this because we've got a split tax rate. That's not the issue here. The issue that we've got is that we've got some of the restrictions on businesses coming in here that are a little bit onerous. And one of them is parking. Okay, if you're going to be building a condominium or apartment, you could have 1.5 parking spaces. You go to Braintree, it's 1 parking space. The response that comes from the town is, "But we're willing to talk." That's not the right response. How many people here own your own business? Okay. If you're looking to do something with business, do you want to hear, here's what the rules are, but talk to us. We're willing to talk. We can change some of them. Or do you want to know what the rules are before you make a decision you even want to move that direction? I want to know the certainty of what's happening. And we don't necessarily have that in Weymouth, and I'd like to maintain that. The good news is we do have a planning board right now. We've got a planning director. We've got a building department that are indeed, when they say they're willing to talk, they are willing to talk. The problem is that if this administration changes to get other people in there, those people may not be willing to talk. We've got to change the rules so that it's all going to be all kind of be in place. That's the reason I'm running again. I love the town. I was raised here. My grandparents moved into the town back in the early 30s, 1930s, and so I've been here forever. I raised my kids here, and I want to make sure the town continues to go in the direction that we remember. It's not the same town that it was when I grew up. How many people here grew up in Weymouth? Holy cow, we got one, and he's probably the youngest one in here. Holy crap, this is sad. But Weymouth is not the same town it was when I grew up. And bless you. Bless you. It's not the same town it was when I grew up in, and honestly, it can't be. Those Andy Griffith days are gone, unfortunately. And if you take a look at what people are looking for in today's world, the younger people coming in, they don't have the same interest as what we're looking for. They're not driving as much. They just soon take a train in and out of Boston to drive. Okay? They'd rather be in an apartment or a condo that they can get in and get out of quickly as opposed to having that detached home. It's what it is. We've got to be prepared to adapt to that. And I think that that's probably the biggest challenge we have right now. Last issue I think that I want to address, and I can certainly take a few questions. I'll take a few questions and then pass it on to Ray and to others. But, I think that some discussion has been happening about what's going on with Union Point. We need water. Okay? The truth is, we've got plenty of water to take us for the next 10 years anyway, if not longer. Okay? There is plenty of water out there. Now, the problem is if we get beyond that, as Union Point continues to get developed, this is 10 years in the making, if not 20 years, if this will continue on. At that point there, we may need some water. And then MWRA is a solution to that, for a couple of reasons. First of all, we will not have to worry about water for the next 50 years or more for us. Okay, now I don't have all the statistics to say it could well beyond 50 years from now. The second thing is it will free up Whitman's Pond and Great Pond to be able to be recreational ponds. And if you've been by Whitman's Pond recently, how many people have been by Whitman's Pond?
Every day.
Okay, you can almost walk across the water in those lily pads, can't you?
The machine doesn't seem to be doing
The machine, honest to goodness, it's really. I want to go on record, that one was not me.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. The glass did not break.
Oh, no, we're going to throw that in another place. But the truth is that we're restricted from doing some of the stuff that can be done to recapture Whitman's Pond. If we were using the MWRA, that would be freed up because no longer would that be a portion of our drinking supply. Okay?
That was just back up.
Well, it is. The problem is, it's a backup drinking supply. They don't want you to be doing anything to that could interfere with that in case you end up needing it. Okay? So that's the issue that is. Interesting point with this thing here is I can remember growing up and used to be able to swim at Whitman's Pond, either off of Middle Street there or in Charles Street. And my mother used to say, you know, growing up we were told you shouldn't swim in that pond because it was polluted. Now you swim, no, you can't do it. And now we're drinking it.
So what's MWR exactly? Is that another water supply?
MWRA is Mass Water Resource Authority.
Okay.
Already, we're connected to for our sewer. Okay? Our sewer systems all go through the MWRA right now. This would, we'd be getting our water from them. And even if we say okay to that, we're still probably 5 years away from getting connected because they've got to figure out how we get that. It's got to come through Quincy and then Braintree in order to be able to get into Weymouth for us to connect to it. All right? And that water is actually coming from the Coughlin.
It's actually delicious water. I grew up in Boston. It's delicious.
There you go.
You could actually drink it first. You can't drink the water in Weymouth, really. It's not so tasty, right?
So anyway, those are some of the issues that I see as of right now. And I'm willing to take some questions.
You mentioned the registrar problem we had this last year. What would you do different?
First thing, I think that Linda Rory would have gotten in. Okay? Would have edited everything right there at that point there. Now, I think that certainly there were some questions that needed to be raised. There were some concerns that the registrars had because of some events that had occurred a couple of years ago at one of the elections. Okay? But I think that those could have been addressed and they could have been handled. Okay? Unfortunately, I don't know that she had the opportunity to speak.
No worries.
I don't think she was given the opportunity to properly address
She had no
that.
opportunity to
So there's, you know, I mean, I think that would have been the end of the issue, frankly, at that point there. I don't recall ever seeing a position, forgetting for just a moment, Maria, I don't recall ever seeing a time when one of our registrar nominees was put up before the town council or selectmen before that point and being turned down.
They've never turned down anyone
So
before, ever.
that's typically a rubber stamp.
So what is the reason for it? What was the reason for it?
I was not there in that committee, so, you know, I don't know what to tell you on that. I was not part of that decision, so I couldn't tell you what their reasoning was. What do you want me to say? I wasn't there.
Well, you're lifelong friends with the town clerk, as I recall.
The town clerk's family and I grew up with each other in North Weymouth. She's a North Weymouth girl. We grew up along with each other. I've been friends with Bob Hedlund for well over 30 years. Okay. That being said, I don't have I'm not a confidant of them, but they're gonna be telling me everything. Okay? As a matter of fact, years ago, there was some tension between the clerk's office and the RTC, and I offered to be a buffer between them. And I was told no by the RTC. They could take care of it on their own. And so that's fine too.
When was that?
It was back when I was chair. And for those of you who don't know me, I was chair of this committee, I want to say back in the 90s at some point in time, for honestly a long time. And then stepped out, stepped away, was asked to come back into the committee again, probably about 12 years ago, I would think now, and said yes, I would stay here until the next primary election, and then give it up, and stepped down. I think it was almost 3 years ago with Joseph over at that point. So it was during that second period of time that came to point. There was contention that was going on between the committee and the clerk's office, and I said, hey, look, if you need a liaison, I'll do anything that. Any other questions? Yeah.
I'd like to address what I see as the building of Weymouth. Now, I see these apartment buildings going up all over the place, residential areas on the first floor, which many are vacant, and people living on top of each other at astronomical rental rates. How much is enough? And who are we going to be putting into these apartments when people can't afford them? Are we going to be inviting people from the southern border to live in these apartments at a governmental rate?
Great question. I'm sorry, what is your name?
My name's Deanne.
Deanna?
Yes.
Hi, Deanna.
Hi.
I'll say a couple of things. And frankly, I'm partially guilty. No, those of you who know me, I just have I own a real estate company. My office used to be in Weymouth Landing across the street from the post office. Now, there's a big building being built. Okay? 28 condos going in. Now, I will say that when we sold the property, we insisted that it would be condominiums as opposed to apartments. People who own have more vested interest in the community than people who rent. I've jokingly said that, look at, you end up renting your place. You own your place. I come in with a group of my friends and we're hanging around the corner. You turn around and say, heck with this place is going to hell. You turn around and you just leave. You own your place and all of a sudden you say, what the heck, man? You form a neighborhood watch association. Next thing you know, you're hanging around and I'm saying, what are you looking at? Nothing, what you see. I go and I find where you were and I move to where you are now. Okay? The difference between people who own are involved in the school committees typically, they get involved in the town politics, they get involved with elections, they're involved. People who rent typically are not. Now that being said, not everybody can afford to buy either, okay? We are in a housing crisis across the country, let alone just in the South Florida. There are not enough homes. I told you I own a real estate company. As of right now, if you want to buy a home in Weymouth, we have something in the order of 15,000 detached homes in Weymouth. You get about 20 to choose from. That's what's on the market. 20. 58,000 people in the town roughly, and we had about 15,000 homes. We get a ton of people, my kids included, who can't afford to live in the town they grew up in. Let alone if they wanted to. They can't afford to stay here. That's the issue that you're addressing right now. The number of apartments, the reason apartments are being built is because you get more units on one piece of land than you can in detached homes. That was a half an acre of land in Weymouth Landing where my office was. If that was R1 zone, there's one house there. There'd be one family. There's 28 families that go into that place now.
Let me answer that. These rents are like $2,500 a month. I mean,
No, same, but like, don't you ever think like,
now you can afford to live on their own. Who is supporting this apartment?
I'm starving now.
I have no idea. I will tell you that you take a look at land 53, it's rented out. Okay? The DeLagus property is rented out.
Is it government subsidized?
For the most part, no. No. Now, when these places go in, many of them go in there with the, you familiar with 40B?
Yeah.
Okay, 40B is essentially what it's saying is, look, the town has its zoning, and I don't want to get into the weeds with this stuff either. I'm willing to talk to anybody after the fact about this, but town has its own zoning that's here, and it can be fairly restrictive. Hingham is brutal, okay? You've got to have a threshold of affordable housing within that community. I want to say it's around 10%.
But what does that mean exactly, affordable?
It's according to the,
Housing Authority median income.
yeah, what happens is it's not just HUD, it's the state has, according to the census figures, what the median income is of that community. And you have to earn 8% or less of that median income in order to be able to qualify for affordable housing. Okay? And in many cases, in some cases, that's going to be subsidized. Those are the people who don't really have anything. All right? I do believe we need a safety net. Problem we have in today's world, that has become a hammer. And that should not be the case. But people who get through the line, you gotta get daughters. People make a good living, but they still have to coming back to that affordable housing, with the 40B, one can end up dodging, you can go to the state, and the state will overrule the town's bylaws to be able to allow more units to go in there. So long as there that would go for affordable housing. So you see a lot of developers who are doing that to get beyond what they're kind of. And actually, Paul Rotundo, he's with the planning board, he can probably speak about I know that that didn't really.
So in Weymouth, that you really left some police officers, and how does that work?
That's a great question too, because one of the concerns that I have right now is we mentioned Union Point. Excuse me, guys.
Hold on, everybody. We're just answering one more question.
The question was asked about the ratio of police officers with the general population, okay? And I think that for the most part, the big issue I'm looking at right now is we've got a population that's going to continue to increase at Union Point, okay? We need to have some of the infrastructure there to be improved as well. And I'm not talking about sewer and water and all the other stuff. We got a fire station that's down there now. We need a substation for the police department that's going to be there in the end as well. Instead of having the police department having to respond all the way to Union Point, as well as taking some of their resources and taking it throughout the rest of the town.
Are they gonna hire more police though? Because they're gonna be getting more residents, and I know.
That's going to end up having to be done. Now, the question, that's one of the things that's going to come out of the budget. That is one of the things that I really will be able to have a say in, frankly, and that's one of the things I'll be looking for, frankly, is police and fire. Thank the good Lord that Broad Street is finally open again. I'm appalling to see that the headquarters for the Weymouth Fire Department is closed. Really? You know, I mean, honestly, I'm being given the hook here, so forgive me.
Thank you, Rick.
I wanted to have a leave.